Hi, my name is Micole Amalu, and this is The Face of Mercy. In this video, I'm going to talk about why the church needs to be discussing mental illness. I feel like topics around healing and psychological care have kind of taken off in really niche spaces in Catholic circles, mostly online and media content. But for the most part, it really hasn't entered into our parish life. And that's where the day-to-day Catholic life is lived, and the only place that so many Catholics encounter what the church teaches and lives. And so why does the church need to be talking about mental illness? Because there, in those spaces, in those parishes, are people who are suffering. The burden of mental illness is real. The estimates are that 1 in every 4 people is suffering. A quarter of our church is experiencing mental illness. And they need to know that we believe in a God who draws close to them in their suffering. We believe in a God who became man, who entered into our human life, who experienced the ups and downs, largely so that we would know how much he loves us, that he is a God who loves mankind. And we're integrated beings. It's not like we can separate our psychological state from our spiritual life. We're meant to bring our whole selves to worship. We are meant to bring our whole selves into relationship with Christ. And that means our mental state, not that we shrug off what's happening, but that we bring the very reality. We bring our anxiety. We bring our worries. We bring our distress to the Lord and meet him there. I know that he wants to meet us there. I don't think that's most people's experiences of their parishes, especially not if they're suffering. And I believe that it really would make a difference if when people came to church, they heard in their homilies something about mental illness, or if there was talk about suffering, it was just kind of in that list of things people might be suffering and struggling with. Or in the announcements, if there was an announcement for either a support group for those struggling or other ministries that might offer them support and care, that people would know that the church is drawing around them, that there is support and their needs could be met. Because I think too often, especially for younger generations, that the fact that the church isn't talking about this, it almost feels like they're speaking a different language. It's not speaking to the reality of their lives, as their lives are marked by this kind of suffering. I don't think people often leave the church. I don't think people always leave the church because they don't love Jesus. I don't think people always leave the church because they don't believe what the church teaches. I believe they're often leaving the church because they're not experiencing the love of God that's proclaimed, that they're not experiencing God with them, and they're not having their needs met. And that's heartbreaking. The idea that if the church was living and looking more like Christ, that people might stay. Particularly because I believe that the church is a source of healing that people need when they're struggling with mental illness. Not in isolation, definitely not. Along with psychological care, along with medication if that's needed, but to also have the grace of the sacraments, to also have the grace of the prayers and the liturgies of the church that are all meant to heal the wounds that originally come from the fall, to heal the suffering that entered into the world. And that the fullness of that is always going to be found in the church. And so I really believe that beginning to talk about mental illness in parishes is going to be a necessity for the church to look like and love like Christ does. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you watch some more, and that these are really helpful to you in your ministry.